Hello, everyone. My name is Michel Besner, and welcome to our first webinar of the year. And today I'm going to have two colleagues in this first webinar. Usual suspect is Philippe Bédard, our product manager. And so, hey, Phil, nice to see you again.
Hey, hi, everyone.
And we have a new person. He's actually not even the newest hire, but he's one of the latest hires we had, and we want to bring in so that you get to know more of some of the teams that we have. And some of you might know him from his past. I think some of his former colleagues are even attending this webinar. So Mark Senior is our Senior Business Development Manager, formerly with Pointfuse. Hey, Mark.
Hello, Michel. Hi, Phil. How are you both? You well?
We're doing good. Yeah. It's going to be an exciting year. We have not only a lot of stuff to cover today, but for some of you that I've seen our progress over the past year, we've completely revamped our product strategy. We've drastically invested into our product development, increased the team, and increasing velocity. And now we're hitting quite an amount of milestones on a regular basis. And so you can expect basically this year virtually a release every month with a lot of goodies. And so there's going to be more frequent webinars that we'll do to cover all of this information as we continue to push the boundaries of our product capabilities, as we augment our asset-based capabilities with our solution and other things. And so we're going to cover some of that today. Before we go into some of the cool stuff of the product, I mean, one question that I had for you, Mark, just to put you on the spot a bit, is obviously you had a great success with Pointfuse. Great to see that Autodesk acquired the business. But what made you decide that joining Prevu3D was the next good thing for you into your plan? Right?
Yeah, I mean, great question. And again, first of all, before anything else, thank you to the team, because it's been a great journey so far, and everyone's been superb on the onboarding. So thank you, guys. Thank you, all of you. Yeah, in terms of Prevu3D, I mean, obviously we're working for Pointfuse. We had a great product, and as you said, it's gone on to great success. But I think with Prevu3D, there's a timing in terms of what's happening to digital twin solutions, and I think previously we've only just touched the surface of it. We've always talked about data, and it started to go beyond data. And I think the scope and what I've seen with Prevu3D over the last 12 months, there's been quite a step change in how you're presenting that solution and how you're developing the solution in terms of the features, and being a much more of a complete ecosystem in terms of connecting to the hardware manufacturers. And obviously that's one of my roles since joining the business, is to develop those relationships and look at how we can easily ingest and create valuable content from all data sources and all technologies. But the other part, the element that started to work really well, and obviously as I'm learning the system and the solution, I'm starting to sort of gain my knowledge on it. But the important part for me is the downstream sort of connectivity. How do we connect to the different ecosystems that our users are using, the different vendors are using, and that's really important for me, is seeing how Prevu3D are really looking to make a step change in the digital twin solutions on how they do that connection. And it's quite and I can never say the word innovative. Yeah, shouldn't have said that word because I'm not very good at saying it. But the developing cycle is absolutely really exciting. And anyway, so yeah, that's probably all of that is the reason why I think Prevu3D was really the next step. It's sort of very similar feel to Pointfuse in terms of the team and the mentality. So it's been a very a nice onboarding so far. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, definitely, and we're really happy to see you on board. There's obviously you bring so much great experience and expertise that it's good to have more experienced people into the company like this. Another person that we should probably invite into one of our next webinars is our recent hire as a VP of engineering. Francis Malka has done many things in his career. A few to name them is built a product called Magic Plan that a lot of people might know as it was one of the first mobile application to take imagery from the camera and create CAD models for like residential projects and other things like that. Sold that many years ago, and actually was for the past 5 years leading the development of the digital twin initiative at Unity. And so we're really honored as well to have him here in the team. So we're bringing like a lot of really great talent like that, and there's more people that will showcase in upcoming webinars just like that, because it's part of where Prevu3D is going and becoming a more mature company, right? So you start as a startup, you're a bit ruffled on the edges, which is part of the process. And then as you're getting bigger as an organization, as you're getting more deeper into your product maturity, then you want to grow up as an organization. That's been a lot of the changes we've done over the past year. And so, and we'll talk about that as well during this specific webinar that took place.
I think Mark highlighted something well during the introduction, where we are now more like an ecosystems over a tool. So we were seen as like a tool previously because we were like deeply focused on design projects, but now we are doing way more by hosting the point cloud, connecting data with external sources. So I think that platform mindset did change a lot on our side.
Definitely, and something that I know we've been talking a lot, and there's more announcements coming about these Reality Connect integrations, which are basically native integrations into various CAD software and other solutions to streamline the exchange or transfer of data between various systems. And obviously, you can always do like file IO, like saving files and importing files and so on, but it's still a very tedious manual process. Having integrations within products to products or platform to product enables a more streamlined, more efficient way of bringing reality capture data assets or matched assets into like Revit or Inventor and other systems. And that's part of that ecosystem that both Philippe and Mark are talking about. So as we have a lot of stuff to show, we should start pretty soon to show this, but for anyone attending, please don't be shy to put some comments, ask some questions. We want this to be an opportunity for anyone to ask away anything that you'd like to know, and we'll be more than happy to answer what's possible during this webinar. And the first thing we want to show, it's, you know, again, it's back to like showing how we're getting more organized, more disciplined as a company. It's really about the new resource center and documentation portal that we've built. Actually, Philippe did a lot of the work and the heavy lifting on that one. And really, that's something that is great for us to be able to have deeper documentation, with a bit more of a modern style. We had in a bit of an outdated system before, so this is definitely quite an upgrade. I don't know if we can show something in that context. There we go.
Let me zoom in a little bit. So yeah, I think the first thing that we can explain is on our website now we have what we call the release note sections that can be found under the resources. Over here, resource centers, you do have the release notes. So every month, like Michel mentioned, we will post a new release up here. On the web page, it's mostly the main features, the main improvements, and things like that, with like some small explanations, video that recap all of the release. But you can also access the complete changelog at the bottom here, which bring you on our new documentation platform over here. So that's our knowledge base. You will be able to search for whatever you want. There's even like an AI tool, so you can just ask questions in there, and it will help you and guide you inside the documentation properly. And you can also access all the different solutions. So if you go inside RealityPlatform, you can like see and navigate within the documentation. So it's been reorganized and it's been cleaned and updated. So now everything is up to date. And you can find the detailed release notes now at the bottom. So for example, the release note that we just released today actually contains like some features up here. And I think we can dive into those features.
Yes, exactly. So I guess we'll start from the top. So one of the things is, so with the revamp of the platform, back again to this this deeper development effort in our web application, is that we've had created a more deeper control of all the data that you're able to upload and manage into the platform. One of the side effects is that suddenly people had more data to manage, and therefore it was a bit more, in some ways, cumbersome. So what we had built was similar to a Google Drive type of approach. And so what we've added in this new release is actually a brand new homepage that is going to help both the admin or engineering level users to other users to have more control on what you're getting from a homepage perspective, and making it more intuitive and accessible for a larger audience of employees within a company, for example.
Yeah, so what we see on the video that is presenting there, you do have like your design projects that will show up at the top. We do have shortcuts now for the uploads buttons, and you do have the file explorer. So it's a better way to display the information. So typically when you access a site, you should see your most recent files that you have access to. So typically you don't need to go through all the folders and search for your files. They should show up there.
Exactly. So a lot of, again, continue to improve the maturity of the interface on that level. One thing also that we've added is, obviously we're dealing with some of the largest companies in the manufacturing industry, and so little things like understanding how their usage of license and everything else. So we've added a lot more capabilities to monitor the use of the RealityPlatform licenses, which is basically our desktop app for engineering, design, and other things. And so that's another thing we've added. Again, small little details, but they add up to make the product and the platform overall a bit more organized and usable by large organizations.
Yeah, so what we see over here in the video is we can access the usage summary, and we can see the active users. So in the example over here, if someone launch a project on the desktop app, it will consume a license from the floating license pool, and we see that now we do have like an additional users that is currently using the license. So it helped to monitor the license consumption.
Great. Then other things we've added. So as you know, we've been adding a lot of this notion about like assets and sites and projects, and so it's a lot of more granular components into the platform. And so in order to help find things, of course, if you know where you're going, that's always good, but most people don't always know where to look for things. And so we're starting to add search capabilities into the platform. So we start now with this new release to have a search bar, so you can start searching for sites, searching for projects, and one thing that will come later down the road is even searching for assets. So as you define assets into your facilities, able to search for like a hydraulic pump of certain brand or kinds of pumps and so on. So you'll be able to do a lot of different searchability. That will be that. I see there's a question from Victoria, but yeah, so the release is, we announced it. I think we're still deploying to customers, so you should be still seeing that today or tomorrow. I know that the platform team, I mean, is deploying, so it might just be a question of delay between when your account in Victoria is going to be moved to the new update. So. But yeah, so searchability is definitely one thing that's key. Actually, that's a good topic, because when we talk about assets, I know that with CoinFuse, Mark, you had a lot of great capabilities for segmentation, and so I'd love to get your input about what are potentials for customers to be able to search like that, and with a search bar their assets within multiple sites into RealityPlatform. Again, taking a questions like to challenge you live. You're muted, I think. You're muted, I think. Are you muted? I can't hear you. Can't hear the audio. Okay, we're live.
People have questions. Yep.
Is that working?
Yeah. It's working.
Okay, apologies. Okay, good. I'll get through this as quick as I can then. Yeah, I mean, with the mesh assets, I mean, it's something that obviously Portuguese did in a different way. But the important thing is, there's a reason behind everyone scanning, and it's around assets, whether that's the whole facility, the building, or it's whether the parts or the machine are in there. So an asset is an asset. So, as a point cloud, it's dumb information. As a mesh, it's much more tangible information as a mesh object. But we need to sort of notify that object as being, I don't know, a pump, etc. So adding that mesh metadata to that mesh information is really important. And I'm really intrigued with the work you're doing on that searchability, because then it suddenly starts to bring life to that digital twin. I mean, previously it is dumb data to start with. How do you intelligize that information? And it's around breaking it down into its component parts, but then adding the intelligence. Now that can be through manual classification of selecting a mesh asset, using the pipe tool to select a pipe run, for instance, with a new pipe selection feature, which is really cool. But it's around adding the intelligence to that object. Now, I think we've talked about before is whether that object is represented as a mesh or a photograph or a point cloud. You need to have that core meta information of what it is to start off with. But if it's locked away in a database and you can't access it, then it's going to be difficult to find. It's like, as you said earlier, Google Drive is great, but when you've got to try and find something, a document, it can be a bit of a nightmare. So having this searchability within the system to actually pull out whether it's the site, whether it's the actual object itself, is a real next step in terms of how the user can interface with the data that they're creating.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for the added color to this. Absolutely. Good. The other thing we've added, again, these are all small little details, but I know that some of our customers will be very happy to some of these things. The next one, it has been around, you have 2D floor plans and you want to align that floor plan to the scan environment. And so now we've added this pivot point on the 2D floor plan so that now you can actually use it to position things properly between the scan environment and the actual 2D floor plan like we're seeing here in this video.
Yeah, so being able to change your pivot point help a lot, because sometimes you might use like a column as a reference point, so you can like fine tune your rotation based on that column and do the positioning based on that as well, where previously it was always at the middle of the floor plan. So that will help a lot for the positioning. It's been a request from some of our customers, so I'm pretty sure some of you will be quite happy to see this today.
Absolutely. And Mark mentioned our piping extraction tool, and actually that may be a good opportunity to show it again, because I always love to watch it, because it's again, we're trying to do tools that are easy to use, fast, efficient, but really almost like making it fun to do that kind of work, right? So extracting piping, as we know, is very complex. Piping have different shapes, they go all over the place in the environment. And so we wanted to make sure that the piping tool, the first piping tool that we are coming out with, makes it very intuitive, very easy to just, point and click in a few seconds and build any piping element very, very easily. So here you can see that we're clicking on a few corners and everything else. And so very quickly you're able to define that shape of this piping or tube and vacuum system, and then you can control either the full diameter of the system or each segment of this system here, as you can see, can be adjusted. So you have full control of like how this shape can be built. And now then it creates one of these reality assets. And so boom, you see that we have the same system as before. And now this becomes a simple, very quickly a clickable object into the environment of this.
That's quite interesting as well, is that because this is the user actually driving this, is they're validating what they're putting into the system or what they're classifying, which is an important step. You can run automated systems we've talked before, but at some point you have to validate the data, and this is I think a very slick way for the user to do that process.
Yeah, absolutely. And exactly, that's the whole point. It's like making it where even as there's more and more AI out there and automatic systems, to make it where the user has full control, right? Because there'll be mistakes. Any AI will make mistakes. It's never really, fully perfect. Maybe one day, but not today. And so making it where you are able to make it where you have full control from the user perspective is extremely important, per se, on that. Cool. The next feature that actually not any, well, there's two parts to the feature we're going to talk about next is, so we've been adding a lot of support from different scanning devices, right? So initially, a few years back, we had like support for Leica and Faro and ZNF, a few others, and Navis, but it was fairly limited. But now we've added so many inputs, right, into the system that it was becoming a lot more challenging to align all of that and making it more intuitive and increasing the quality of the data processing we're doing if we're not able to better understand the source of the data. And so we've come up with what we call device-based upload, which allows us to help the user guide it through the different type of devices. So here, for example, we see that we have different inputs, and then for each of them, we can have then specific instructions. And so we've been working a lot with different hardware device makers, and that's one of the work that Mark is doing, is to further improve how we're importing data from like Regal, Emescent, and ZNF and others to make it where it's going to get better and better for our customers. Again, it's always back to simplifying the lives of our customers and increasing quality and efficiency. And as part of that, we have two new devices that we're supporting officially into these workflows. So one of them is Exyn, and the other one is FJDynamics. And so again, we're adding more of these devices into our system. So again, more integrations, more openness, and we'll talk in a few minutes about composing or blending multiple scanning devices, which is one of the key next steps in this endeavor, per se.
And if I may add, on the documentation page, if we can share back my screen, we do have a sections under the RealityPlatform which showcase all the supported scanners. And as it evolves, we will add more and more devices up here. So if you look at the new device Exyn, you can get the full export workflow from their systems to get the optimal data in our systems afterwards. So you have all the instructions for each provider's up here.
Yeah, and that's an important part of the workflow. It's about ensuring the right quality first time, every time, rather than someone having to manipulate settings in order to get the results they think they need.
Absolutely. And there's definitely a lot of settings from different devices, so try to make it as seamless as possible. It's definitely an ongoing effort, and kudos to the platform and pipeline team that have been working on this. There's a lot of underlying details to make things look simple. Complexity is being handled by the developers, which is always part of the challenge.
And I would say, like, if you have some devices that are not showing up there, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We always evaluate new devices, and we can discuss this further and see if it's possible, if we have the right data to support it or not, what is missing. And we have always ongoing discussions, and that's one of the reason why we hired Mark as well. It's to entertain those discussions, make sure that we developed those partnerships. And
yeah, absolutely. And again, that's part where Mark comes in order to get all these ecosystem and partnerships of hardware vendors to be working closely with us, and that's been a great process. Something that we've been talking before, but it's always good to give an update, is now we support a wide array of different scanning devices. And so when you think of the digital twin or a digital environment, it happens often that people want to have different sources. Either you're scanning with the same scanner at different times, so you want to have updates on your scanning environment, or you might be using a blend of like drone LiDAR with terrestrial SLAM and different devices, a bit of ZNF here, a bit of Leica there, and so on. So how do you manage to deal with all this data, right? And so of course, if you're just in a pure point cloud perspective, it's a bit easier to some extent because you're just merging point and images into a space. But then how do you make it where a full meshed environment is fully interactive, capable of dealing with large different amount of different data sources? And so this is another example here where we've been working on internal namespace composition. There might be a fancier name that would work with marketing as we release. But basically, think of a volumetric Photoshop where you have different sources, and basically you're defining the volumetric shape of the digital environment. What is it coming from? So if you, let's say, for example, have a building, you can have the entire exterior done with drone and Navis VLX, for example, and then the inside with some VLX and then some Leica or ZNF. So you can combine any number of these type of inputs into a single digital environment. And that's something that's quite unique to what we've built. Looks very easy on the video here playing back, but there's certainly a lot of complexity. If you've ever dealt with meshed environments, this is very complex to realize, and that's coming very shortly. Like I think it's probably will be even part of our next webinar, I would say.
That's a feature I'm really excited about. It's modern day service providers have many tools in their tool bag now. They don't just have one type of scanner. They have the scanners now out there for different jobs, and being able to bring them all together into one platform again I think it's really exciting, and in such an easy way as well. So again, that's a reiteration of how it needs to be for our users is make it very intuitive and simple to use, and if you do that, then they'll use it. So
yeah, exactly. And people don't understand how much data that we're moving around in these composed spaces. These are multiple gigs, hundreds of gigs each layer that are all blended together in a very dynamic system, and it's so not easy to implement.
Yeah, and one thing that is important to note is with this workflow, you are also able to update your space over time. So that's something that people tend to forget when they are building up like a digital twin. It's important to be able to maintain it, and that's why we put those type of features up there. It's to be able to update your space over time with new scans. Maybe like each year you will rescan your space, put it up there, and that's one of the reasons why our assets are not tied to mesh, but it's boxes, so you're able to update easily your space. So.
Yeah, most software that have these level of classification or segmentation, actually the data of the classification is basically tied to the point cloud or the mesh, right? So if you are rescanning, what do, right? It's not easily movable between one point cloud to another or one mesh to another mesh. And so our reality assets, it's a unique system that we've built that's extremely powerful, leveraging the visual layer of the mesh that we have, including these composed spaces, but it's actually agnostic. So if you're changing the scan or the source of a scan for a specific portion of your space composition, it's going to retain all the assets that have been built on top. And of course, we'll add additional tools in the near future to help us manage if some assets have been moved, for example, stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff we're going to come out in how to help manage a digital twin perspective. But really, it's a lot of the underlying features we've done that are making our solutions quite unique per se on that. Another thing, when we talk about assets, of course, is it's one thing that you're able to create these metadata, these parameters, but of course, if you're doing a lot of pumps and pipes and everything else, you want to be able to use templates. So one thing we've been working as well that's coming soon is the templating of asset types. So if you have, let's say, certain parameters you want to have for a pipe or a duct or a pump or other assets in your system, or even use nomenclature like IFC or CFOS, we're building this notion of templating of assets. I think we have a video for that, Phil, or don't we?
We do have one for the integration parts. So, but that does showcase a little bit the.
Okay. Let's talk about that as well at the same time. So obviously, it's one thing to be able to define assets, to have templates, but then a lot of the data you want to connect to your assets come from different systems, and so we've built building that as well to enable connectivity of our platform to third-party system of records from ERPs, PLM, and asset management solutions, and other operational systems like Aviva Pi, for example, Aviva Connect, and so on. And so there's a quick sneak peek and speak of some of that work. Again, we're creating this asset, again, part of this video. And then we'll basically have a way of entering a key that is connected to Aviva Pi, for example, and then use that to fetch all the relevant data that's been defined in this integration point with Aviva to map that data coming from Aviva right inside this asset. So here we're going to basically give it a name, big chiller, and then here you're going to see as we select this asset. Here in the properties, we can add an integration, specific integration point like Aviva Pi, and then boom, now I just entered the key, and now I've got all the data that has been defined in Aviva Pi to be accessible in Prevu3D.
So yeah, the UI here is not final. What you see is really the mechanism that we have been working at and put a lot of effort into. So basically, just by entering the ID of the asset, we're able to retrieve all the metadata attached to that asset from the Aviva Pi systems. And we're building those type of integrations with other systems as well. So it's really like the foundations of the integration service that we're building. Yeah, quite exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of stuff that's coming together. I think that as you'll start seeing the pieces connect to each other, you'll realize how impactful this product is going to get over time. And a lot of our key customers are seeing that, and we're having great conversations in how this is going to help change how you can run and operate using a digital twin. Another one that is specifically around EPCs, engineering firms, scanning providers. It has been like, you're delivering service, you're doing scanning work, you want to use RealityPlatform as a delivery system for your end customers. And so one feature we've been asked for quite a lot actually is to customize the branding of the portal, right? So to be able to have this and put in your own logos and other branding elements. So we are, this is still at the mock-up level, but we're going to have this very soon where you're going to be able to have white labeling, customization of some of the branding elements into this. So Phil can show this here. Yeah, it's in Figma. So you can see here now that I have a fake company name at the top, and so other things like that will be brandable. Even for our own customers, if a customer wants to put their own company logo instead of the Prevu logo at the top, that will be possible as well.
It also include a custom domain name as well. Well, you will be able to have your company.prevu3d.com. So this way, you can customize the domain name as well. So yeah, and you will be able to have like a setting page where you can customize the logo for the home page, the emails, and the top bar, like inside the header. So yeah.
Cool stuff. I think that was all the features we wanted to show today and some of the sneak peeks. Obviously, probably the next month we'll have more things. Speaking of next month, we're a few weeks away from Geo Week, one of the top geospatial conference of the year. We'll have a booth, obviously, there. Looking forward to see you there if you're coming. And around that same time frame, there'll be other interesting announcements of new capabilities in the product. So really appreciate the time today. Thank you, Mark and Phil, for this webinar. Hopefully you found this valuable, and looking forward to see you all at a trade show soon, or reach out to us anytime you want. Our customer success team and our sales team is always available to help make a great success of our business relationship with our customers.
Thank you, Michel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Philippe.
Have a great
Thank you. Bye-bye.